Hello, dear friends, and welcome to the Early Music Podcast. My name is Darina Ablogina, and this season holds something truly extraordinary as we dive into the heart of the Early Music Summit. How can we embrace the bigger picture of research, education, performance, and creation? How will we redefine our field in a more open, inclusive, and balanced world? Join us in shaping the future of the early music scene with the Early Music Summit. And today my guest is...
Hi, my name is Rarita Zbranca. I work as a program director at the Cluj Cultural Center, which is a network-like organization based in Romania, in Cluj, that brings together the local cultural organizations and local universities and different other stakeholders from the local community, together with the local administration and the regional administration. And the aim of our work is to create partnerships between culture and different other sectors to mobilize the power of culture and arts to support social transformation and urban development.
The subject of this episode, impact of European Union policies on early music. Do you have any specific thought on how you see it developing?
Some of the people listening to us would know it's not one of the fields that is regulated as a common policy area in the EU. Culture being something so specific to each of the countries, it is the responsibility of each member state to create the cultural policies that are more supportive for their particular culture. Let's say the neighborhood policy of the European Union, so tightening relations with countries around the European Union or third countries in the world, or sustainable agenda in Europe and so on. The key landmark in terms of European policy for the field of culture is the new European agenda on culture, which stated by member states in 2007, if I'm not wrong, when it was maybe for the first time when there was kind of a joint declaration on the importance of the culture for the European values and the European space. And this was mainly tied with the need to have a competitive economy and the role of culture in that competitive economy in Europe, the social cohesion potential of culture, and the neighborhood policy. European agenda for culture has been somehow updated in 2018, encourage a sense of belonging to the European space of European citizens, people's participation and urban regeneration. These are areas that are included in this new agenda for culture.
Thinking of that and the latest values of the European policy, I was thinking about the climate change policies. How does it affect the cultural field?
On one hand, we can look on how climate change is affecting the activity of the cultural sector as such. And I think there has been impressive work done already by various networks in Europe around what it means to, for instance, continue moving in Europe. Like the mobility a lot of time means going around with the entire orchestra with instruments. And then the question is, what is the balance between being on tour and being caring for the resources of the planet? And even European Festivals Association, they have delivered working document on how festivals and cultural organizations can adapt their work to lower their impact or like their negative impact on climate. A lot of festivals and bigger organizations have completely shifted the way they are working. And some organizations are taking the lead in that respect. In 5 years' time, there would be no cultural organization operating without an environmental impact reducing plan, And this is very relevant, especially for the young people who may be sometimes disempowered by the dread of contemplating a future that we know can be quite threatened by various transformation coming from climate change, and their need to be able to imagine how that world of the future may look like and how they would be able to navigate with this.
Thank you very much for touching this really, let's say, uneasy subjects to reflect on, because as you mentioned before, sometimes it can drive to an anxiety moment. And I think it's extremely important to bring up those subjects and to think about it and to make it visible. What are the examples of European funding programs that made a difference in the cultural sector?
Cultural program that really makes a huge impact in Europe is what is now called Creative Europe. And of course, its predecessor program dedicated to support of culture. An important part of the resources is dedicated to supporting transnational cooperation in Europe. There has been a huge shift from very localized productions, so theaters doing their own productions towards co-productions and international co-production, and working a lot with artists from different countries, increasing diversity of the local communities. I think it's also that the agenda itself of the cultural organizations have developed a lot because of thinking and imagining together in these cooperation programs. A country like Romania, where we have quite limited public support for cultural organizations, being part of European projects was kind of the main way of being able to work. And in a way, working internationally is something that came more naturally even than to start working first locally and then growing internationally. It's kind of the other way around. You start working internationally to be able then to be taken seriously at the local level or to bring resources at the local level. Nowadays, things are much more in synchronicity with other regions. Another European program policy that I think made quite a lot of impact is the European Capital of Culture. It was established around 30 years ago. And it started with the idea of cities in Europe having the title of European Capital of Culture, just to have the headlights on that specific culture for 1 year. And currently we have 2 or 3 countries per year having the title. And of course, this program too had various stages. It started with focusing on the culture of European cultural capitals, as we would call them, also informally, like Paris and Athens and Berlin, and then it shifted to kind of bringing this European attention to cities and fragments of culture, of European culture, less known maybe, and I think the trend that we are now in is more bringing this European Capital of Culture title to quite small communities or communities that rather face challenges in their urban transformation. And the European Capital of Culture program is seen as an opportunity for those cities to engage with those challenges and create an important shift in how they develop and further transform.
And how do you find these organizations, the smaller environments that are in need of this support?
Especially with the European Capital of Culture, I think these are such huge programs, such huge events. They usually encompass thousands of cultural activities, and not only cultural, a lot of work with local communities. So it is also very tied to the political will at local and national level. So this is why the way in which it is implemented and the effects it generates is very diverse from one country to another, from one European Capital of Culture to the other. It is a great opportunity for smaller communities.
There is certainly some hope in this exchange and circulation and the long-term perspective in culture. Do you know any success stories of cultural projects that benefited from these programs?
Definitely a lot of programs. And again, success is a very relative.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always a relative term.
Definition.
Yeah. And I can tell you the success story of an insuccess. Cluj, the city I'm based in, has candidated for the European Capital of Culture title. And as you may know, this is a competitive process. Usually the cities within one country are candidating already 6 years in advance, the process of candidating starts. So 5 years in advance already, the title is designated to the city in that specific country. So, and in Romania, it was quite a huge involvement from cities. 14 cities have mobilized to prepare applications for the title, and Cluj was one of them. We engaged in a huge process that took several years. We did not get the European Capital of Culture title. That was the not success story. But we were committed to go on with that program, regardless of having that European title or not. And I think that's the story of the sustainability of such an investment. Let's say co-design processes with communities to be committed to go all the way. In our situations, for instance, just to give an example related to this topic of arts and health, this was one of the themes, one of the flagships of our European Capital of Culture bid book. And we continue to implement it, and we can call it an informal European network that pushes the agenda. So now we have 30 cities in this network, and the network itself is now being supported by Creative Europe program of the European Union that has a pocket of money dedicated to European networks.
Yes, so as we all know, sharing is always caring, and staying in touch is always a nourishing perspective for the future of culture. Thank you very much, Rarita, for this fascinating talk. As we look to the future, we are excited to explore the uncharted territories and innovations that await us in our field. This podcast series is a prelude to the Early Music Summit that will take place at Beaux-Arts and Concertgebouw Bruges from November the 30th to December the 3rd of 2023. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. In our next episode, we are going to talk with Romina Liška about the definition of early music. Don't miss out on the exciting discussions and discoveries that are ahead. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, keep exploring the boundless horizons of early music.
A szintek fölött is ott vannak a szintek, a rózsaszín fényeket érzem csak kintnek, ami fölött lebeg a terv.